Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I hope you're ready for another heartfelt story. This one is about a simple moment on a bus that turned into something so meaningful. It's proof that sometimes all we need is someone to really listen. Let's get started. It was a rainy evening and the city was buzzing with people rushing to get home. I had just finished a long day at work and I felt completely drained. Everything had gone wrong that day. I spilled coffee on my desk, missed an important email, and argued with a coworker. By the time I got on the bus, I felt like giving up. The bus was crowded as usual, but I managed to find a seat near the middle. I sat down with a heavy sigh, hoping the ride home would be quiet and uneventful. Beside me was a guy in a black jacket holding a small notebook. He looked ordinary, the kind of person you wouldn't normally notice in a crowd. As the bus moved, I couldn't help but sigh again, louder this time. That's when the guy turned his head slightly and said, "Tough day, huh?" His voice was gentle and there was no judgment in his tone. I hesitated for a moment. Normally I wouldn't open up to a stranger, but something about his question felt genuine. "Yeah," I replied, trying to keep it short. "One of those days where nothing goes right." He nodded, his expression calm and understanding. "I've had plenty of those," he said. "They're not fun, but they always pass." I don't know why, but his words made me feel like I could talk. So I started to share. I told him about my bad day, the endless work, the mistakes, and how overwhelmed I felt. I wasn't looking for advice or sympathy. I just needed to let it out. He didn't interrupt or look bored. He just listened, really listened. When I finished, he took a moment before speaking. "It sounds like you've been carrying a lot on your shoulders," he said. "Sometimes we try so hard to keep moving that we forget it's okay to feel tired." I nodded, his words sinking in. He wasn't trying to solve my problems or tell me what to do. He was just there, listening. And somehow, that was enough. "You know," he continued, "it's easy to focus on the hard moments, but don't forget all the times you've overcome them. You've made it through tough days before, and you'll make it through this one too." I felt a lump in my throat. He was right. I had been so focused on what was going wrong that I forgot to acknowledge my own strength. The conversation wasn't long, maybe 15 minutes at most, but it left a mark on me. By the time the man stood up to leave at his stop, I felt lighter. He gave me a small nod before stepping off the bus. I watched him disappear into the crowd, and I realized I didn't even know his name. That evening, as I sat in my small apartment, I couldn't stop thinking about him. His words echoed in my mind, and for the first time in weeks, I allowed myself to sit quietly and breathe. I didn't check my phone or try to distract myself with TV. Instead, I reflected on what he said about caring too much and giving myself permission to rest. I wrote in my journal that night something I hadn't done in months. I wrote about the man, how he listened without judgment, and how his simple words had brought me comfort. I wrote about my day, not just the bad parts, but also how it had ended on a surprisingly good note. The next morning I woke up feeling different. The heaviness from the day before was still there, but it felt manageable, like I could carry it without breaking. As I got ready for work, I found myself hoping I'd see the man again on the bus. Maybe I could thank him properly, or at least tell him how much our short conversation had meant to me. I boarded the same bus at the same time, scanning the seats for his familiar gray jacket and notebook, but he wasn't there. I told myself maybe he'd catch a later bus or had taken a different route. The day went on, and I couldn't shake the feeling of wanting to see him again. On my ride home, I looked for him once more, but the seat he'd occupied the day before was empty. I began to wonder if I'd ever see him again, or if he was one of those people who come into your life for just a moment and leave, their impact lingering long after they're gone. That evening I thought about what he might be doing. Was he sitting at a park, sketching in his notebook? Was he talking to someone else, offering the same warmth and understanding he had shown me? The thought made me smile. Whoever he was, he seemed like the kind of person who made the world a little brighter for everyone he met. That interaction taught me the power of listening, of being fully present for someone else. Sometimes we don't need to fix things or hand out solutions. We just need to be there, to let someone know they're not alone. Since that day, I've tried to be more like the man on the bus. I listen more, I judge less, and I remind people that their feelings are valid. It's amazing how much of an impact a little empathy can have. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next one. See you